Okay, so we're going to continue chapter 13, To Kill a Mockingbird. On the PDF, it's on page 132. But Mika, can you read, please? Can you see where I have it highlighted?
Yes, Miss Lynn.
Okay.
There was indeed a caste system in Maycomb, but to my mind it worked this way. The older citizens, the present generation of people who had lived side by side for years and years, were utterly predictable to one another. They took for granted attitudes, character shadings, even gestures, as having been repeated in each generation and refined by time. Thus, the dicta no Crawford minds his own business. Every third Meriwether is morbid. The truth is not in the living Delafields. All the Buffords walk like that. We're simply to daily living. Never take a check from a Delafield without a discreet call to the bank. Miss Maudie Atkinson's shoulder stoops before she was a Buford. If Miss Grace Merriweather sips grin out of Lydia E. Pinkham bottles, it's nothing usual with her. Mother did the same. Aunt Alexandra fitted into the world of Maycomb, like a hand into a glove, but never into the world of Jim and me. I so often wondered how she could be Atticus's and Jim and Uncle Jack's sister, that I reviewed half-remembered tales of changelings and make mandrake roots that Jim had spun long ago. These were abstract speculations for the first month of her stay. As she had little to say to Jim and me, we saw her only at meal times and at night before we went to bed. It was summer and we were outdoors. Of course, some afternoons when I would run inside for a drink of water, I would find the living room overrun with makeup ladies, sipping, whispering, feigning, and I would be called, Jean Louise, come speak to these ladies. When I appeared in the doorway, Auntie would look as if she regretted her request. I was usually mud splashed or covered with sand. Speak to your cousin Lily, she said one afternoon, when she had trapped me in the hall. Who? I said. Your cousin Lily, said Aunt Alexandra. She's our cousin? I didn't know that. Aunt Alexandra managed to smile in a way that conveyed a gentle apology to Cousin Lily and firm disapproval to me. When Cousin Lily Brooke left, I knew I was in for it. It was a sad thing that my father had neglected to tell me about the Finch family, or to install any pride into his children. She summoned Jim, who sat wearily on the sofa beside me. She left the room and returned with a purple-covered book on which meditations of Hosh,
Joshua.
Joshua S. Joshua S.
St. Clair.
Street St. Clair was stamped in gold. Your cousin wrote this, said Aunt Alexandra. He was a beautiful character. Jim examined the small volume. Is this the cousin Joshua who was locked up for so long? Aunt Alexandra said, how did you know that?
Okay,
Why?
stop right here, Bamika. I explain to us, summarize for us what you have read.
in this paragraph, first they were talking about in Maycomb, everyone knows about each other, that they everyone knows everything about each other, and they look similar to one another.
Why?
And then why? Because they had been having marrying people in their family.
Yes, exactly.
And then she started speaking about Aunt Alexandra, that she was with them in the summer, but she would not see her many times. It was only during meal time and that night before they went to bed. And it was during summer, so sometimes whenever she went out to take to drink water or to do something, she would find Aunt Alexandra sitting there with her friends, and she would ask her to come and talk to them and greet them. And then once Aunt Alexandra asked Jean Louise Scout to talk to her cousin Lily Brooke, but then Scout could not recognize her. She didn't know that she was her cousin because Atticus never told her about the Finch family. Uh, then uh, then Aunt Alexandra got a book about Joshua, their cousin, who was locked up for so long. And Jim knew about it. That's all.
Okay, good job. Thank you, Bamika. All right, Hannah Hanny, will you read, please?
Yes, miss. Aunt Alexandra was standing stiff as a stork. That's all she said.
Wait, go up to the above paragraph, Hannah.
Oh, okay.
Start right here. Why Atticus?
Why Atticus? Said he went round the bend of the university. Said he tried to shoot the president. Said cousin Joshua said he wasn't anything but a sewer inspector and tried to shoot him with an old flintlock pistol. Only it just blew up into his hand. Atticus said it cost the family $500 to get him out of that one. Aunt Alexandra was standing stiff as a stork. That's all, she said. We'll see about this. Before bedtime, I was in Jem's room trying to borrow a book. When Atticus knocked and entered, he sat on the side of Jem's bed, looked at us soberly. Then he grinned. Er, Herm, he said. He was beginning to preface some things he said with a throaty noise, and I thought he must at last be getting old. But he looked the same. I don't exactly know how to say this, he began. Well, just say it, said Jim. Have we done something? Our father was actually fidgeting. No, I just want to explain to you that your Aunt Alexandra asked me. Son, you know you're Finch, don't you? That's what I've been told. Jim looked out of the corners of his eyes. His voice rose
Guys,
uncontrollably.
please stop making the noise in the background. Hannah's reading.
Atticus, what's the matter? Atticus crossed his knees and folded his arms. I am trying to tell you the facts of life. Jim's disgust deepened. I know all that stuff, he said. Atticus suddenly grew serious in his lawyer's voice, without a shade of inflection. He said, Your aunt has asked me to try and impress upon you and Jean Louise that you are not from run-of-the-mill people, yet you are the product of several generations. Gentle breathing. Atticus paused, watching me locate an elusive red bug on my leg. Gentle breathing, he continued. When I when I had found and scratched it, and that you should try to live up to your name. Atticus preserved the right of us. She asked me to tell you You must try to behave like the little lady and gentleman that you are. She wants to talk to you about the family and want it's meant to Maycomb County through the years. So I'll have some idea of who you are, so you might be moved to behave accordingly, he concluded at a gallop. Stunned, and Jim and I looked at each other, then at Atticus, whose collar seemed to worry him. We did not speak to him. Presently, I picked up a comb from Jem's dresser and ran its teeth along the edge. Stop that noise, Atticus said. His curtness stung me. The comb was midway in its journey, and I banged it down. For no reason, I felt myself beginning to cry. But I could not stop. This was not my father. My father never thought these thoughts. My father never spoke so. Aunt Alexandra had put him up to this. Somehow. Through my tears, I saw Jem standing in a similar pool of isolation, his head cocked to one side. There was nowhere to go, but I turned to go and met Atticus' first front. I buried my head in it and listened to the small internal noises that went on behind the light blue cloth. His watch ticking, the faint crackle of his starched shirt, the soft sound of his breathing. Your stomach's growling, I said.
Okay,
I
Hannah,
know.
stop there, baby. All right, now summarize what you read for us.
Okay. They were talking about Joshua, and he tried to shoot the president with a pistol, and he paid $500 to get him out of the one. Atticus made that, and Atticus came to Jem's room while Scout was getting a book from his room, and wanted to talk to them. So he explained that they are from the Finch's family, and they have
Whose
to
idea
act like
was this, Hannah?
Aunt Alexandra
Yes.
wanted Atticus to talk with them.
Go ahead, babe.
And he was saying to them that they have to act like they are from the Finch, and he was talking seriously. And Miss Aunt Alexandra wanted to explain to them that they are not from the run-of-the-mill people. So that's why she told Atticus to talk to them.
Right. Now,
And
remember,
Atticus was
1
telling
second,
to them,
Hannah. Remember,
yes,
here, what she is basically doing when she tells Atticus to talk to the children, he says, your aunt has asked me to try and impress upon you and Jean Louise that you are not from run-of-the-mill people. In other words, Aunt Alexander wants them to understand, according to her, that they are better than other people, okay? They're not just like common people, because they are the product of several generations in Macomb County, okay? Now, you have a question on your comprehension sheet. I want you to remember this because it also tells us something about Atticus. Remember what Atticus has always taught his children. He has basically taught them that they are just like any other people, no matter what color, what class, that sort of thing. So now he is basically agreeing to what Aunt Alexander has asked him to do. And that is to explain to the children that they are better than other people. Okay. So, in a way, this shows us that Atticus is kind of hypocritical because he should have told Aunt Alexander that he doesn't feel the same way that she does. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Miss Lynn.
All right. And it has really confused Jim and Scout. They're very puzzled by this. And in fact, it made Scout start to cry. She said, my father never thought these thoughts. And he never even spoke like this, okay? And she knew, remember, Scout's very smart. She knew that Aunt Alexander had put him up to this, okay? Thank you, Hannah.
Welcome, Miss.
Okay, Hannah Yasser, will you read, please?
Yes, of course. Miss, Miss, where should I start?
Wait 1 second, right here, baby.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I know it, he said. You better take some soda. I will, he said. Atticus, is all this behaving and stuff gonna make things different? I mean, are you? I felt his hand on the back of my head. Don't you worry about anything, he said. It's not time to worry. When I heard that, I knew he had come back to us. The blood in my legs began to flow again, and I raised my head. You really want us to do all that? I can't remember anything finches are supposed to do. I don't want you to remember it. Forget it. He went to the door and out of the room, shutting the door behind him. He nearly slammed it, but caught himself at the last minute and closed it softly. As Jem and I stared, the door opened again and Atticus peered around. His eyebrows were raised, his glass had slipped. Get more like cousin
Excuse
Joshua.
me.
Every day. Yes, Miss Lynn?
I said, excuse me for coughing.
Oh, sorry, I complete?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Get more, a glass had slipped. Get more like cousin Joshua every day, don't I? Do you think I'll end up costing the family $500? I know now that what he was trying to do, but Atticus was only a man. It takes a woman to do that kind of work.
Okay, so explain, Hannah, so far what you've read.
Uh, when she like reasoned with Atticus at first, when they were talking forth and back to each other, she got out of him she said like he came back to us, like Atticus wasn't like hypocritical anymore,
Right.
and he became like his old self again when he told her like it's not time to worry about that. And then like she's saying her blood rushed in all of her body and her legs began to flow again, like she's and then she raised her head because like she's like a bit proud now.
Right.
She's able to raise her head and not look down anymore. And then when she says, you really want us to do all that, I can't remember everything finches are supposed to do. She's like, I don't want you to remember it, forget it. And then she says like, do you really like want us to do all that? Like she's asking because like when he was like hypocritical, then he told her like, of course not, like just forget it. And then he was a little bit agitated. And then he was a little bit agitated that he almost slammed the door behind him, but then he didn't slam it last minute and closed it softly. And then and then she as Gemini stared at the door, and the door opened again, she as like Gemin Scout looked at the door behind Atticus after he closed it. He opened it again and looked around. His eyebrows were raised and his glass had slipped. Like she then he said like, get more like cousin Joshua every day. No, sorry, Scout said, get more like cousin Joshua every day. No, that was Atticus. Sorry.
Yes, it's
Sorry,
Atticus.
sorry. I can.
It's okay.
Sorry. And then Atticus said, like, get more like cousin Joshua every day, don't I? He's getting more like as bad as cousin Joshua every day. He's asking them. But
Right.
then, like, but then, uh, do you think I'll end up costing the family? He said, like, do you really believe that I will end up costing the family to pay like something for me and bail me out like cousin Joshua? But then I know what he was trying to do. But Atticus was only a man. She understands him because like she's very smart and quick. Uh, she knows what he was like trying to do.
Right.
Like he was trying like to like uh, make excuses for like himself. But then like she says like he's only a man and it takes a woman to do that kind of work because like women are like this.
Right.
Like
Okay. Yes,
thank you, Mister.
they sometimes do evil things.
Yes, hypocritical, like because like when like as we learned before, they like invent rumors like that never happened and gossip about each other.
Yes, for the most
That's
part,
yes.
women think very differently than men. Okay, and she knew that Aunt Alexander had conjured up this whole idea of him talking to them. Okay, so after Atticus tells them everything that Aunt Alexander wanted him to talk to the children about, as soon as he was finished, he realized what he had done. And Scout says, I can't even remember everything that I'm supposed to do as a Finch. And Atticus says, I don't want you to remember it. Just forget about it. So as he goes out the door, starts to go out the door, the children realize that after he said that, he was back to his old self, okay? And in fact, he kind of tried to make a joke about it. When he reached the door, he says, I get more like cousin Joshua every day, don't I? Do you think I'll end up costing the family $500? He was trying to make them laugh a little bit, okay? Any questions so far? Sama, do you have a
Miss Lynn?
question?
No, Miss Lim, but I want to read. Can I
Okay,
read?
baby, 1 second. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
Miss
Miss,
Lynn, can
I
I?
don't understand what happened in the end. What was he trying to do?
He's trying because he realized that he had been wrong about talking to the children on the subject that Aunt Alexander suggested that he talk to them about. Remember, she wants them to know that they are Finches and they are treated
Yeah.
differently in the town, okay? Now, this is something that Atticus has taught his children the opposite. He wants them to be like other people and he wants them treated like they treat everyone else. So when he had to talk with the children, he realized immediately that he had done the wrong thing because this went against everything that he believed in. So now
Yeah.
he's trying to get back to his old self. And at the very end, he tries to make a joke and says, I'm getting more like cousin Joshua every day, aren't I? Okay. And at the very end, when it says, uh, Scout realized that Atticus was only a man and that it takes a woman to do that kind of work. She knew that Atticus would never do this on his own, that this was Aunt Alexander's idea. And she's very upset about this. All right, Sammy, you want to read?
Yes, Miss Lim.
Okay, go ahead, bud.
Although we heard no more about the Finch family from Aunt Alexandra, we heard plenty from the town. On Saturdays, armed with our nickels, when Jem permitted me to accompany him, he was now positively allergic to my presence when in public. We would squirm our way through sweating sidewalk crowds, and sometimes here there's his chillin', or yonder's some Finches turning to face our uh, accusers. We would see only a couple of farmers studying the enema pegs in the Michael drugstore window, or two dumpy country women in straw hats sitting in a hover cart. They can go loose and drape up the countryside for all of them who run this country care. was one obscure observation we made head on from a skinny gentleman when he passed us, which reminded me that I had a question to ask Atticus. What's rape? I asked him that night. Atticus looked around from behind his paper. He was on his chair by the window. As we grew older, Jim and I thought it generous to allow Atticus 30 minutes to himself after supper. He sighed and said rape was carnal knowledge of a female by force and without consent. Well, if that's all, it California dry me up when I asked her what it was. Atticus looked pensive. What that again? Well, I asked California coming from church that day what it was, and his paper was now in his lap. Again, please, he said. I told him in detail about our trip to church with California. Atticus seemed to enjoy it, but now Alexandria, who was sitting in a corner quietly chewing but down here embroidery and staring at us. You all were coming back to California's church that Sunday, Jim said. Yes, Sam, she took us. I remembered Sam saying, yes, Sam, she promised me I could come out to her house some afternoon. Atticus, I will go next Sunday if it's all right. Can I? California said she would come get me if we were in the car. You may not. Aunt Alexandra said it. I wheeled around, startled, then turned back to ask her in time to catch his swift glance at her, but it was too late. I said, I didn't ask you. For a big man, Atticus could get up and down from a chair faster than anyone I ever knew. I apologize to your aunt, he said. I didn't ask you.
I think we lost Sama.
خلينا
Yes.
نسلم.
Sama,
She
you
too.
back?
هو yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Apologize to your aunt, he said. I didn't ask her, I asked you. Atticus turned his head and pinned me to the wall with his good eye. His voice was deadly. First, apologize to your aunt. I'm sorry, auntie, I muttered. Now then, he said, let's get this clear. You do as California tells you, you do as I tell you, and as long as your aunt's in this house, you will do as she tells you. Understand? I understood, pondered a while, and concluded that the only way I could retire with a shred of dignity was to go to the bathroom, where I stayed long enough to make them think I had to go. Returning, I lingered in the hall to hear a fierce discussion going on in the living room. Through the door, I could see Jim on the sofa with the football magazine in front of his face, his head turning as if its pages contained a live tennis match. You have got to do something about her, Auntie was saying. You have let things go on too long, Atticus, too long. I don't see any harm in letting her go out there. California would look after her there as well as she does here. Uh, who was the hair they were talking about? My heart sank me. I felt the stretched walls of a pink cotton
Penitentiary.
uh, penitentiary closing in on me, and for the second time in my life I thought of running away immediately. Atticus, it's all right to be soft-hearted. You are an easy man, but you have a daughter to think of, a daughter who's growing up. That's what I'm thinking of. And don't try to get around it. You have got to face it sooner or later, and it might as well be tonight. We don't need her now. Atticus' voice was even. Alexandria, California is not leaving this house until she wants to. You may think otherwise, but I couldn't have get along without her all these years. She's a faithful member of this family, and you'll simply have to accept things the way they are. Besides, sister, I don't want you working your head off for us. You have no reason to do that. We still need California as much as we ever did. But Atticus, besides, I don't think the children have suffered one bit from having brought them up. Um, from her having brought them up. If anything, she's been harder on them in some ways than a mother would have been. She's never let them get away with anything. She's never indulged them the way most colored nurses do. She tried to bring them up according to her lights. And California's lights are pretty good. And another thing, the children love her. I breathed again. It wasn't me. It was only California they were talking about. Revived, I entered the living room. Atticus had retreated behind his newspaper, and Aunt Alexandra was wearing her embroidery. Punk, punk, punk. Her needle broke the taut circle. She stopped and pulled the cloth tighter. Punk, punk, punk. She was furious. Jim got up and padded across the rug. He mentioned to follow. He led me to his room and closed the door. His face was grave. They are fuzzing. Jim and I fuzzed
Salmon, can you hear me? Salmon? Okay, Jim,
anything.
wait 1 second. I lost the internet, guys.
No problem.
Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Seven.
yes.
I didn't see it yet. Yes.
Can you see now?
Yes, yes. Can you just scroll down?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Salmon, go ahead.
I said Atticus didn't worry about anything beside the case never bothered us. Except about once a week, and then it didn't last. That's because you can't hold something in your mind but a little while, said Jim. It's different with grown folks. His maddening superiority was unbearable these days. He didn't want to do anything but read and go off by himself. Still, everything he read, he passed along to me, but with this difference formerly because he thought I would like it. Now, for my edification and instruction. G. Crawling Hova Jim, what do you think you are? Now I mean Scout, you and antagonize Auntie, and
Antagonized.
I will spank you. Antagonize Auntie, and I will spank you. With that, I was gone. You damn morphodite, I will kill you. He was sitting on the bed, and it was easy to grab his front hair and land one on his mouth. He slapped me, and I tried another lift, but a punch in the stomach sent me sprawling on the floor. It nearly knocked the breath out of me, but it didn't matter because I knew he was fighting. He was fighting me back. Were we still equals? Ain't so high and mighty now, are you? I screamed, sailing in again. He was still in bed on the bed, and I couldn't get a firm stance. So I threw myself. Um, so I threw myself at him as hard as I could, hitting, pulling, pinching, gouging. What had begun as a fist fight became a brawl. We were still struggling when Atticus separated us. That's all, he said. Both of you go to bed right now. Ta, I said at Jim. He was being sent to bed at my bedtime. Who started it? Asked Atticus in resignation. Jim did. He was trying to tell me what to do. I don't have to mind him now. Do I?
Hey,
Atticus
Salmon.
smiled.
Salmon.
Okay.
I think you read a lot, baby.
Yes.
All right. Give us a summary of
No,
what you read.
okay. Scout and Jim were out in the beginning, and they heard many comments about the Finch family, and one of them was rape. So she asked her father Atticus what is rape, and he told her. And she told him that she asked California, but she didn't tell her. Then she told him in details about her visit or trip to the church with California, and she told him that she will visit the church with California next Sunday. Uh, but but then her aunt doesn't want her to go, and Scout disrespected her and told her that she didn't ask her. Then Atticus forced her to apologize. Then Scout went to the bathroom and listens from the hall. Aunt Alexandria doesn't want her to join California to the church, and she wanted California to leave the house. She doesn't want um, Jim and Scout to be raised by a black woman. But Atticus feels that she look after them, and she's a member of the family, and he describes her as a faithful mother. Besides that, Jim and Scout love her. Then Jim and asked Scout to join him to the room, and he asked her not to annoy Aunt Alexandra. And he feels that his dad is worried and had a lot on his mind because of Tom Robinson case. So Scout was angry and mad from him, but he continues. And then they started a fight, and Atticus separated them. That.
Good job, Sama. Only one thing we need to go back when Scout and Jim went out. Hold on one second. Let me find it so I can show you.
First paragraph in the chapter.
When they go out and the people start talking about them.
Yes, about the Finch family.
Yes, I just want you to realize, class, that already it has already started that when the children go out in public, like around the town, that people are already sniggering at them and calling them names and saying their father doesn't think there's anything wrong with a man raping a woman. So you need to have an idea of that, okay? You did an excellent job,
Okay,
Sam. Thank you so
there's
much.
okay. There's a part I didn't understand in the beginning.
Which
in
one,
the
baby?
first in the first paragraph. When they heard many comments, I don't understand. Yeah, and what are these comments?
Wait 1 second, I'm trying to find it.
Still,
Here?
no, in the beginning of the chapter.
Oh. Oh, okay, right here. Yes, that's the paragraph I was looking for. It says, although we heard no more about the Finch family from Aunt Alexandra, we heard plenty from the town. On Saturdays, armed with our nickels, when Jim permitted me to accompany him, he was now positively allergic to my presence when in public. We would squirm our way through sweating sidewalk crowds, and sometimes hear, there's his chillin' or his children, or yonder some Finches. Turning to face our accusers, we would see only a couple of farmers studying the enema bags in the Mayco drugstore window, or two dumpy country women in straw hats sitting in a Hoover cart. And then it goes on to say, this is what the people were saying. They can go loose and rape up the countryside for all of them who run this county care, was one obscure observation we met head on from a skinny gentleman when he passed us, which reminded me that I had a question to ask Atticus. And that was the question. She wanted to know, what did rape mean? Okay. And just to put it in a short, simple answer, in case some of you might not know,